Welcome to the podcast. It's the best podcast in the world. This is going to end up on the show. I know it, motherfucker.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 119 of Epitome of Stupidity, your favorite allegedly metal podcast. I am really excited about today's show. If you've been around for a while, do you remember last year when Billy and Josh of Generation of Vipers, my band crush, were on? Well, guess what? Today we've got Billy's other band, a band called Guiltless, that we spoke about just a little bit in that previous episode with Generation of Vipers. Double whammy. He's going to again be joined by a singer-vocalist named Josh. Yahtzee. The intro outro song, easy for me to say, is called One Is Two, and it, along with the rest of their new album called Teeth to Sky, is all the sludgy badass you could hope for, +4. They're not playing Sonic Temple this year, but here's a commercial detailing some of the awesomeness that will be there.
Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival, the pinnacle of rock festivals in America, returns in 2025 with Linkin Park, Korn, 2 nights of Metallica, no repeat weekend, plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Alice in Chains, Rob Zombie, 3 Days Grace, Alice Cooper, I Prevail, Jimmy Eat World, Chevelle, Motionless in White, and so many more. May 8th to the 11th at historic Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. Passes on sale now at sonictemplefestival.com.
Tell you what, I got to catch Jerry Cantrell here in Columbus the other night, and while I genuinely love a lot of his solo stuff, that show served as a hell of a primer for seeing Alice in Chains here at Sonic Temple later this year. Anywho, if you're new here, welcome in. I'm Clint. I'll be your guide on this magical music conversation we're set to embark on. The magic should play out something like this. I'm going to say things for a couple minutes, and we'll wrap up my little monologue and sponsors section with some notes about the band. After which, there will be less of me and more of the person, or people in this instance, from the featured band. Yay! If you're not new here, you already know all this, and thanks for coming back despite me saying things like magical music conversation. Hey, you know what makes everything magical, though? A bit of mead. You should go to brimminghornmeadery.com and pick out some of their award-winning mead that they will ship right to your door. After consuming, the level of magicalness in your life should improve noticeably. Oh, and at checkout, be sure to use code EPITOMEAD. That's EPITOMEAD. You'll get a 10% discount just for doing that. Magicness is just a couple clicks away, and then everything will be better. Whether you're a returning listener or new, as of the last episode, the show is now on the YouTubes with actual video. So that's crazy. You get to see my fucking face. So there's that. There's always been a YouTube page with audio, but I've finally gotten around to figuring out how to edit and post the actual video of the conversation. Over the next few weeks, I'll edit and post some of the shows from last year that I have video for as well. So that's exciting. Hey, yay. Continuing on the Clint-centric portion of the show with some brief notes on what I've been listening to here lately. The previously mentioned Jerry Cantrell has certainly been in the listening rotation, as well as Foxjaw, Sugar Horse, and Conan. 2 of those 3 were on the show last year. 1 of those 3 might be on the schedule here fucking soon. So stay tuned for that. All that plus plenty of Guiltless as well. Both their EP called Thorns, as well as the upcoming album Teeth to Sky, which is for sure an early addition to the album of the year conversation to be had later on this fucking year. Now that all that has been said, how about some Clint notes on Guiltless before we dive into a conversation with drummer extraordinaire, one Billy Graves, and guitarist vocalist Josh Graham. They're a super group of sorts featuring members from A Storm of Light, Intronaut, Generation of Vipers, Battle of Mice, and as mentioned, they have released 1 EP, that's 2024's Thorns, and their full-length, Teeth to Sky, will be released on March 7th, 2025, both via New Route Recordings. The members share a love of all things heavy, and of that love, Guiltless was born. Yay! And we're all better for it. Let's have a little less me and a little more of them talking about the band and their music. Maybe, yeah. This says to make fake phone sounds. Beep 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 beep. Ring. And they answered. On the call with me today are Josh and Billy of Guiltless. Josh and Billy, how the hell are you guys today?
Hey, good.
Yeah, doing pretty good.
Right off the bat, I just did what I told these guys I would accidentally do and threw a question to them without directing it at all, and it was just chaos. There's nothing. Josh is guitar and vocals of Guiltless. Billy is drums. If you've been around here for a while, you know that Billy's also the drummer in Generation of Vipers, whom I'm essentially a fangirl of. And I don't have any problem with admitting that. So we'll go Josh and Billy this time. Josh, where are you calling from?
I live outside of Seattle.
And then Billy?
I live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And we'll do this reverse order here. What are you listening to here lately, Billy?
Oh, gosh. You caught me off guard with that one. Oddly enough, I've been going back and listening to some the early Discharge stuff because Dan was talking about how he was listening to that like for inspiration for this new Guiltless record. So I've been kind of revisiting that stuff.
That's funny. This is the 119th episode of this fucking show. Discharge has never been mentioned.
Really?
And the guy that was on the show last week, Aaron of Axioma, said that he's been listening to Discharge here lately as well. So we've gone from nothing to back to back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. Josh, how about you? What are you listening to lately?
I've been listening to Dan and I've been talking about influences also. Like weird, like Rorschach related stuff. Kiss It Goodbye and like Die 116. And then some more like new stuff. Big Brave and The Bug, that Fire record. It's like insane. It's awesome.
I don't think I've heard about that.
It's like the Bug. He's kind of like a drum and bass guy, but he was on this record called God with Justin Broderick, like way back.
Right.
Yeah, way back in the 90s. And but he's like, yeah, he did this record called Fire. I was actually at Steve Von Till's house last weekend. He was playing it for me. It's really cool. And yeah, like a bunch of weird stuff.
You were at Steve Von Till's house last weekend, and I finally got a copy of his last solo album, and was sitting around listening to it on the old record player.
Nice.
Tell him I'm still a big fan, please.
Yeah, I will definitely.
All right, with that out of the way, we've noted that Josh's vocals and guitar and Billy's drums. We've tangentially mentioned Dan here. Who are the other members of the band, and how did this unholy union come to be? Josh, kick this to Josh.
So yeah, Dan Hawkins plays second guitar, and Sasha Dunable plays bass. And yeah, it started with me like wanting to do something heavier that wasn't a Storm of Light, that was a little more collaborative. And Billy was in Storm of Light for a long time, and we kind of ended up in a situation where it was really just the two of us kind of making the music, like for the most part. And that band like kind of decided it was sort of done. And during the pandemic, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do musically, and BJ and I, or Billy and I, played a festival, Desert Fest in Antwerp, and with this other side project we have called Ivy, and Cave In played, and like it was a lot of heavy stuff, and I'd been working on some of the ideas for that, and then when I got home, I just dove into like all this, the initial songs for the EP, and then once I had stuff that like actually felt like sounded like songs, and I got in touch with everyone to see if they'd be down to like be part of it, with the idea that it would become like much more collaborative, obviously, because I kind of brought the first 4 songs to the table just as like a way to sort of establish like, do you guys want to play in like this band versus like all of us being located all around the country and just emailing and being like, hey, do you want to start a heavy project? I don't know what it is, you know. So
It's all very 2024 or 5 or whatever the hell it is.
yeah, so that we finished that like pretty quickly, and then like Steve and Nurot were like, we either like hold these 4 songs and like put them on a record, which will take another year to put out, or we just release the 4 songs from Thorns and then like bust ass to write a full other record so that we can get a full length out like within a year or so. And so we did that. And so yeah, last year was kind of insane. So.
Yeah, it was super insane. We kind of like did like a self-imposed deadline, like we have to have this many songs done by this date, and that actually works pretty well for me, because if not, then I'll just kind of procrastinate a little bit and kind of drag my feet on finishing things. But yeah, it was pretty tight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we did a pretty good job.
I will go ahead and agree with you on that. With the deadlines, it sounds like it works well for Billy there. Josh, do you think how does that work as far as like from a creative standpoint?
I'm used to it in my work, and I think that it's definitely a challenge. I think it can make the work like more visceral, like in a way that is less kind of overthought and like more about like, how does this make us feel playing it, like The Storm of Light had some pretty heavy concept records that kind of regret at this point. But I mean, not the music, but I feel like it was so like heady that it kind of took away maybe from some of the music. And yeah, so this was just like, all right, it's like January 15th, like of last year. Okay, we want Kurt to mix it. Like, when is Kurt available? And he's like, July 21st. I'm like, okay, we'll have the music to you July 20th. And I did the final vocal takes here like July 19th. So
it's just like that. A deadline is born.
Yeah, insane. Yeah.
So we've got all the players. We've got a loose how it came to be type thing. Billy, who's the hardest to work with of the group here?
Well, honestly, there's no one that's hard to work with, but I feel like if Josh is the one that keeps us all in line, you know what I mean? Like he has everything kind of planned out and
pointing out the deadline,
really organized, and yeah, keeps us in check.
Yeah, it's like this thing is like a weird process because we're trying to get like the band in the room vibe, but like, from thousands and thousands of miles apart. So like we're all submitting ideas and like writing stuff and working with each other's parts and changing each other's stuff. And like Sasha's sending songs with 2 guitars and bass and like drums, and like we're sort of extrapolating from there. But like ultimately, like because we're not in a room, somebody has to sort of like basically do the final arrangements and stuff. And since I'm doing vocals, like once we had everything, like I would basically come up with these arrangements, put vocals to them, and then see how everybody felt about it. So like, yeah, I guess in that way, like I'm like the conductor editor guy, like at the end or something.
The one with his hands on it last, kind of.
Yeah.
So essentially written in my lineup that these things always work out just fine, and I just read from this thing exactly how I have it listed out. I've got it noted that I wanted to ask, how long has the album been in the works? But clearly we've already answered that. So instead of that, I want to ask, do you feel like this is more its own thing or a continuation of Thorns? Josh?
I would say it's definitely its own thing, because with Thorns, like I initiated all those ideas, and then with Teeth of Sky, like I didn't, which is like fucking awesome as far as I'm concerned, because I just felt like The Storm of Light like had a lot of like, I came up with almost every idea from scratch, and it wasn't necessarily like where I wanted to be creatively, just kind of where we ended up. So the fact that like we have, like 4 people contributing stuff that is like killer, and then like we can all work with it. Actually, it makes the process faster, also makes it more fun. So I think that timeline probably wouldn't have really been achievable if it was like just like me and Billy like trying to bust through a record, like, I mean, maybe, but I don't know if it would have been as interesting. So
Okay. You got anything to add to that there, Billy?
No, I mean, I agree, with what he said. It's definitely its own thing, I think, but just because of the more collaborative process, like I feel like the ideas kind of stemmed equally from everybody this go around, and I feel like you can kind of hear that on the final product.
Well, speaking of the final product, in the notes for the album that I've got through David, I believe his name is, it said that you guys bring heavy music that looks both inwards and out to convey the encompassing mixture of hope, despair, and determination relating to life in these times. I can't believe I wrote this massive ass paragraph with the intent to read it out loud to you. The fact that in music like this, you can pull things with, the music itself feels rather dark, and in times like these, insert your own fucking punchline there. I love it. There's still some form of a positive aspect in there, though. Words like hope and determination are in there. What are some of the specific lyrical themes on this album that spin us through this gauntlet of feelings and or array of things? I guess this one's going to have to go to you there, Josh.
Well, Thorns is like the darkest shit that I've ever written, like completely. And I mean, it's so bleak that like some of it is tongue in cheek. There's like a Jim Jarmusch reference in there, and but like when that came out, there was a review that said that and it was a good review, but it was like, Josh has been dealing with the Sixth Extinction like concept like for like 20 years, like 3 bands, and I was like, all right, like let's try to like fucking move on from there, and like since Thorns was so dark, I was like, okay, like I've written about politics, I've written about everybody dying, like how can I sort of like change the overarching theme like to not be that, like, and I mean there's still some elements of it in there, but like it was just a lot of like trying to find like or like realize like how lucky like all of us are, like we don't live in Gaza, and like we don't live in Ukraine, and we have homes and like that. And like also like another influence is like actually contemporary swans, like Michael Giroir's like kind of like examining his own life, and like I mean he's also like super dark, but like he's also I guess like sort of celebrating his life like within like these like pre-death like songs. It's kind of like weird. So that was like an influence of like okay, like you can be dark and like, and it's pointed, but like there can also let in like some hope, which like hope was like the bad word for me, like lyrics. It was like there is no hope, we're all fucked. So so it's, I don't know, and like I don't have kids, but all the rest of the guys do, and it's like it feels good to have something that isn't just this full catalog of like complete negative vibes.
Oh man, king of the bummer vibes there, huh?
Yep.
The album feels like it's got from a musical standpoint at least, it feels like it's got almost like a purposeful restraint or like a barely contained fucking frustration and anger there in it, where there's these furnace blasts of riffs and Billy's fucking drums, and then, of course the vocals, but everything seems to pull back at points instead of just pummeling you to absolute fucking hamburger meat. I assume this is on purpose, and if that's correct, how do you regulate and keep that feeling throughout? Still Josh here, because I've got something for you specifically here in a second there, Billy.
Okay.
I mean, I think it comes from like the sort of post-metal, like, and like Neurosis sort of stuff where like there is like sometimes like pulling back like makes the heavier parts heavier, and I feel like there's like, I mean, there's a shitload of bands that never light up and they are awesome. I think for me, like sometimes it gets like a little crazy, where you're just like, it starts to become like wallpaper where it's like just almost like static. And
Sure.
I think Meshuggah is like a good one that doesn't. I mean, it will be for like a very long periods of time, but then it'll go to these like really abstract, like kind of like dark kind of moments and stuff. And I think that to me is like important. Like it just gives like a reference. I think actually like the song 1 and 2 doesn't have that. So I think like we're still like experimenting with not doing that and doing that, I guess. Yeah, I think that's my answer.
What's your take on it there, Billy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good answer. Because yeah, if you're just pummeled over the head for 45 minutes, you kind of forget what you just listened to. You know, you got to have some variety to make that, like you said, the heavy parts heavier, and you need like a little palate cleanser in there every once in a while. You know, to
Yeah.
keep things varied.
I certainly love it. It's the Neurosis or not necessarily comparison, but the post-metal thing there makes sense in a way that I hadn't really thought about previously. It's the easy thing for me to say here is it feels like a heavier version of Kowloon Walled City plus Generation of Vipers for me, because
Nice.
and speaking of that, how many times, knowing his drums on those Generation of Vipers albums, how many times did you have to send him back a message saying, calm the fuck down, pull back?
No, he's just the opposite. He tells me to go more and more.
No shit.
I try to get away with doing something easier, and he's like, no.
The best one was on the Storm of Light, Nations of Flames, because the records on that or the drums on that are just fucking insane. And you were like, my body is not happy with the choices my mind made.
Pretty much.
Kind of related to all these things and things that have already been brought up here relating to where you guys are physically. Over the years, there's been a lot of conversations about people in the room jamming together, writing together. Billy and his other Josh talked this exact same thing last year. So I've had those conversations. I want to have a slightly further conversation about how you guys trade these things. You've talked about Sasha sending something with the drums, or I'm sorry, guitar and bass, where he's playing bass. How does that mixtape exchange work? We'll go ahead and stick with Billy here.
Well, to be honest, it all gets filtered through Josh. Like they'll send it to him, and he may like tweak it a little bit, and then kind of send it down the line to me and Dan to, like, it just keeps getting passed back and forth, you know, like we'll add it.
You decide when this is enough. This is where the end. There's no more passing this around.
That's a good question.
I guess it's I guess you were also like super busy earlier last year, and that played into, I think, like me like sort of trying to get a little further like with the arrangements before like kind of passing it on. I get weird though. It's not like it's less of a control thing and more about like just trying to work with everyone's schedule. I think that's a definite bonus to like not being in a room together. I mean, I have been in bands, like obviously Billy, you have too, where like those records wouldn't exist if you weren't in a room. It would be a different record, and I'm fully aware of that. I think it's just kind of like we're able to find like a good medium, and I think still get still get the collaborative aspect, and in that circumstance. But yeah, it's a,
What
all,
you talked through a couple things there. What are some of the pros and cons of in the room together and versus the way this was done?
Well, for me, since I'm in two bands and they work like polar opposite. Generation of Vipers, we're exclusively we don't do file sharing and all for whatever reason, but it just takes forever. Like we can practice at best 1 day a week, and if things aren't working that one day, then you just got to wait till the next time you practice, and it just takes so long. But the way Guiltless works, it's just honestly like way more efficient, because I mean I can pop in my room here for like an hour a day, and like I can devote 5 to 10 hours a week on that versus just like 1-2 hour practice for the other band. So in many ways it's a lot more productive, oddly enough, I think.
Yeah, it certainly lends itself towards when you have time, as opposed to trying to talk through everybody's schedules and figuring out which day, what time, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think like another thing I've noticed is like everyone is like, when ideas are coming in, it is in itself a complete idea. Like it's not it has there's like be like an intro and like a verse and a chorus. I mean, and those parts may get all flipped around, but like when you're practicing, and then actually Generation of Vipers might be different because you guys aren't practicing that much, but when I was in a band that practiced like 2 or 3 nights a week, and it took like a year to write a record, like it would be less about like, here's an idea for a song, and more like, here's a guitar part. Now, like, what do you want to do with your guitar part? But now, like in 5 minutes later, it's like a totally different part. But that is part of the collaborative, like in the room aspect. So I think there's like a little more. For me, there's like I try to take a little more care and like not bulldozing over like what other people are sending, because it's obvious that they've spent a lot of time with it. It's not just like, hey bro, I wrote a riff. Like, yep, check it out.
What do you think about this?
And for me too, like if there's no context, like sometimes like if there isn't a couple parts that work together, like I sometimes have a hard time like getting like the one part, like what is it exactly? Like,
what's your favorite song on the album there, Josh?
I think probably between Teeth the Sky and Into Dust Becoming, which are both songs that I didn't start, and makes me like it's super inspiring that we have those songs, and like they came from the other guys.
Billy, how about you?
If I had to pick, I would probably say I like Lone Blue Veil quite a bit, and Illumin, the last track. That one was the last one that we finished for the record, and yeah, it's like the long album closer. And I like the dynamics on that song a lot too.
It is noticeable when that song kicks on in relation to everything that's built up to it. My personal favorite here, I'm going to take a swing and see if this reference joke, I don't even know how to fucking go about this land. This is so fucking stupid, and I just want to say, it. The song, how well do you know the movie Predator is what I want to ask first.
Fairly well.
Pretty well. I think.
So the song Our Serpent in Circle is my personal favorite. And no small part because that fucking howl that you let out in the beginning is Arnold at the end of that fucking movie, where he's all covered in mud and setting up to fucking fight the Predator, and he's got it. I swear to God, I thought it was a sample the first time I heard it.
That's amazing. I'll have to listen to it.
Every time I hear it, I've got fucking Arnold with his torch in my head. It's fucking great. And I mean, the song itself kicks ass, and the the kind of mix up of the vocals make it a lot of fun. I was hoping that wouldn't just fall flat, because that 100% every time I hear that song.
Nice, man. Yeah, we're not practicing those two, Illumin and our Serpent, just because like we don't really know what we're doing yet. Like we're trying to have all the shorter songs sort of rehearsed. Like when those
I assume for the shows that you've got coming up there with Kowloon and Coalesce.
Yeah, and so and then we're doing Prepare the Ground in Toronto in May, and then actually it's still getting sorted out, but Guiltless and Generational Vipers who should be doing a week together on the East Coast. So where are you?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio, which is, I believe, the second stop on this thing that you're proposing here.
Oh, we have Columbus. I think we will be. Well, we should be in Chicago, and then that's probably the closest on that one.
God damn it! I may actually fucking travel for that. That's I will want reimbursed for my gas money too. The bio here says that you guys, the band itself is born from. This is another one of the gigantic paragraphs that I personally made for myself to read like a jackass. Bio says that you guys are born from a love of experimental rock, noise rock, industrial, early industrial, sludge, and doom. You've kind of tangentially talked about influences leading up to this. What are some of those influences that fit those their grooves?
Godflesh, 100%. Like Jesus Lizard, like I know it's kind of like a weird one to throw out there, but it's kind of like the rhythm section. I think actually like Sock and Billy are definitely hitting that, like in Teeth the Sky. I think like it's it has like some of that kind of that power to it. Let's see, like Melvin's, Lysol, Kiss It Goodbye. Actually, Keith Huckins, the guitar player, has been like a big kind of influence on Dan and I for a long time. Christian Death too. The Only Theater of Pain with Rick Agnew is like the best fucking guitar parts. It's so awesome, and he's been like all over both of our playing forever. And he was in Adolescence as well. Let's see, early industrial. Maybe some Ministry as far as like Health Pig kind of era.
Oh my God, I fucking love that album.
It's so good. I wish the recording was better, man. It's like the songs are so awesome. The drum sounds suck, and it's William Reisman playing.
Oh no, it's so weird.
I know, it's so weird.
I never get anybody wanting to talk about that album. I love that damn thing.
Oh man, it's funny because I didn't like it when it came out. Although I like the Psalm 69, I was like, all right, well, it's starting to sound like a little like super digital, like the super hard stops and stuff. But then that one came out, I think I was just like thrown for a loop. But in like hindsight, I was like, holy shit, that might be like the coolest one that they did.
Baker's bass tone on that's fucking great too.
Oh yeah.
Billy, any outside influences here? Things that are a little bit different for you that go into this?
Well, yeah. Weirdly enough, Godflesh was a pretty big inspiration for me. I know it's weird because they use a drum machine, but it's just like they just have like this unique kind of groove to their songs, which like that's been pretty important to me for this band, like to make sure that there's like it feels good and there's like it's a good tempo, and and like he was saying, the Jesus Lizard rhythm section was a big influence too.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have seen the Jesus Lizard thing coming. So I guess with that in mind, how about some influences outside of these types of things? Whether you feel like they've directly influenced anything with Guiltless, but something weird that the phrase here is guilty pleasure, but everyone's quick comeback is, well, I don't really have a guilty pleasure, but you know what I'm getting at here, damn it.
I got weird, totally fucking left field ones. And The Cure, Faith in 17 Seconds, because the fucking arrangements are like, they're all like totally nonsensical. And I actually used some of those in like on like, I think Lumbu Vale and like, I mean, like not like the exact arrangement, but like the way that like when I was getting ideas from like the other guys, like the parts were too cool that I didn't want to like fuck them up, but like I also didn't want to make like a bunch of like 10-minute songs. So it was like what the arrangements on those two records do, like they're these very short songs that like have very little verse, chorus, verse structure. Like they just sort of like move through these parts and like somehow they work and they're still like memorable, like, which is kind of like anti like pop music, but
right.
All those records are like super like huge still. So, and then another one is Coil, because they're just like masters of like dark atmosphere, and it's not heavy at all, but like almost they'll have like records where like almost every single riff is just like half step moves, and it's just like got this like sickening like progression to it that is awesome.
Billy, how about you?
Any weird ones?
But,
honestly, what?
Budgie.
Budgie. Oh yeah, dude. Budgie from Susie and the Banshees. He's one of my favorite drummers.
Great sentence all by itself.
Yeah.
Sick drummer.
I guess that is a pretty weird one. But yeah, he's like really influenced the way I play, like quite a bit. Like even I kind of forget about it at times, but like, you know, he kind of influenced the way that I play toms all the damn time. And the Cure's Pornography album too.
Yeah.
That's like a really like dark tom heavy record, and yeah, there's definitely lots of toms on this record. And it's funny, Travis from Generation of Vipers recorded the drums for this one,
right?
For this Guiltless record. And before he sent them off to Kurt, he like, you have to like edit all the tom hits. It's like kind of a nerdy thing. I mean, but you have to do it just to make it easier on the next engineer. And it took him forever because there's so many like toms on this record. He's like, man, I hate you. I made his life so hard.
I'll tell you what, it's noticeable. I've debated on whether or not to actually try to figure out how to say this. So I decided no, but I'm going to try to figure it out on the fly. Let's see how it goes. Listening to this thing, and your drumming, it's almost like Braun with toms, where it seems like he's constantly fitting that fucking snare in where it shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you're doing something like that with the toms on this. I get fucking lost in them, and you like I said, there's that like restraint to it where I'm starting to get my head around it. I've got like a full head of fucking steam with it that it pulls back. God damn it, where were we going? I enjoy the shit out of it though. It's that's for sure. So the show's coming up that we mentioned there with Kowloon and Coalesce. How'd those shows come about, and what can people expect from you live? Josh.
Those came about from Sasha. He knows actually a Storm of Light played with Coalesce too. That was right before you were in the band, Billy, in Brooklyn. But I actually like I kind of spaced on that, and then Sasha was like, he's friends with one of the guitar players, and was like, they're gonna play shows, and I sent them the record, and they really like it, and they want us to play, and we were like, hell yeah. So somehow we're like lucky enough for those to literally be our first shows. Just really fucking cool.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel with the constant references here, I feel like we could do a whole separate show of just you two talking through the bands that you've been in and the things that you've done and all these things. 'Cause it seems like you guys have got more of a tethered history than I thought going into this. How when, where, why, and how did this start? Billy, we'll go to you this time.
How did what me and Josh is
Yeah.
collaboration? So A Storm of Light came through Johnson City, Tennessee. They were playing on tour, and I can't remember, was it Generation of Vipers and U.S. Christmas that played?
Yeah. And I had seen U.S. Christmas before, but not Generation.
Right, yeah. But yeah, Generation of Vipers played with him, and I think he was like kind of like in between drummers, maybe like.
Yeah, we had.
Right.
Yeah, Jeff Summers was just like filling in for a tour.
Yeah. So he hit me up after the show and wanted to know if I'd be interested in playing with A Storm of Light, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
When do I start?
It was crazy because like I had seen U.S. Christmas, but they had 2 drummers, and so the parts were much more simple because of you were kind of held back by the other dude. But then like you guys started playing, and it was like the first or second song, and I was standing with Shane, and I was like, I want that guy to fucking be in the Storm of Light. Like yes.
How many times have you guys actually played these things in a room together? I'm gonna let you guys pick who answers that one.
What, the Guiltless stuff? 0. Hey, but
0.
listen, almost like I think it counts. We filmed a video for One Is Two, and we were in the same room playing that song.
We're miming it.
Miming it, but hey, it's pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are the plans there? When do you guys get in the same room to start getting ready for these shows?
Day before Coalesce.
Nice. What could go wrong?
We've had my only worry with this is like we're triggering a bunch of shit off of these Boss Loop pedals, but I think it should be all right. But like both of us have had a lot of experience with just everyone's ready and you get in a room either 1 or 2 days before, and we started like the last few tours that we did with Storm, like we would fly in somewhere and just practice the day before. And so it's a little riskier this time, I guess, because we also haven't bought plane tickets yet, so maybe we'll fly in earlier. I don't know. No, I think it'll be fine. Like you just have to trust people to be on their game, like I've actually been practicing this stuff like between 1 and 4 days a week since like October. So I'm pretty solid, but I had a lot. The rhythms in this band are like much different, and so it's a challenge for me to get the vocal phrasing to like work with the guitar parts. And I wish it wasn't, but I have it now, so it's cool. It's like unlocking your brain.
Use it more than 5%.
Yeah.
What are the long-term plans and goals for the band there, Josh?
Kind of just depends on how well the record does. I think we're prepared to play as much as we can, which isn't a shitload, but we all like want to, and we're hoping that we can do handfuls of shows like on the coast and like in the Midwest and like and just sort of, it won't be like how we've operated in the past where it's like long band tours, but it'll be hopefully short and like important stints of playing.
Is any of this news to you there, Billy? Do you have any quarrels?
No,
with this idea?
no. We've talked about all this. Yeah, it's kind of like a quality over quantity approach. The days of getting in a van for 8 weeks is over for all of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can still, like he's saying, you can divide it up and do a week here, do a week there, and if you get some cool festival offers, that means a lot to be able to play cool shows like that. So I mean, hopefully stuff like that'll will come in.
Sure.
Yeah, that's like the kind of like the big like line for like bands in Europe is if you can get on summer festivals, and if you're able to get on those, then you kind of like jump up. But it's a hard thing to get into, so we're like waiting to find out about some now, which would be if we did get onto them, would be like very, very soon for like a new band. So, which would be really killer, but obviously not really expected. So we'll kind of see.
In relation to how the record does, when I pre-ordered my copy, I noticed that it's, you go to order these things and you look at and see what fucking color or splash or what the hell ever it is. And this one is an Eco Mix vinyl, which I'd never heard of before. Granted, I'm not the world's most astute vinyl person, but I looked into it and I really like the idea of this. Where did that come from? How did that come about?
I actually didn't know about it until after Steve Albini died. I bought the last record, and when it came, like, it actually was talking about eco vinyl, and I was like, oh man, I didn't know what it was either. And then I started looking up, and like, eco's cool. It's not like you can actually get vinyl that's 100% recycled plastic bottles, which is like, I would like to be doing that. It's definitely pricier. So this is just using like all the stuff that they would throw out from the other vinyl processing, all the bits and stuff like that. So if you make colored versions, like they're pretty murky. Like, I guess that's just the kind of the vibe of them. But they had a black, and like we just decided to go like kind of classic with that.
Yeah, I thought that was cool when I saw it. Like I said, I'd never heard of anything like that before, and I'm for recycling things. Sure, why not? Billy, if you had to point people to one song as an introduction to Guiltless, what song would that be?
Maybe I would choose "Teeth to Sky" from this record. Not sure why, but I just, I think that's a good introduction.
Yeah, definitely.
Be it with Guiltless or any of you guys' other respective bands, and whether it's in the same room or across the country, what's the most ridiculous fucking story, be it touring, playing, recording, whatever? Give me something stupid here. Billy, how about you?
Oh God. I'll have to think about that one. Ridiculous, stupid story.
You've got multiple Joshes to pick from here.
Fucking corrosion.
I know. Yeah, it's just like an overwhelming flood of potential bits of stories. I just can't piece it together right now. Do you have anything, Josh, right off?
Yeah, I guess I answered this for like another thing, but funny enough, we're on tour with Corrosion of Conformity, and in St. Louis, we were trying to get free places as often as we could. So these guys were like, yeah, you can stay at our house. So we pull up to the house, and I mean, the neighborhood looked okay, but they were like, yeah, like these gang members executed 2 other gang members in our front yard like 2 nights ago or something. And we're like, holy fuck. Like,
right.
I'm like, so what about our van? And the guy's like, well, you're not dealing drugs on their territory, so they don't give a shit about your van. like, oh, right on. And
that's all it takes.
So I guess it was safe. Like, in a way, it was like extra safe. It was being policed by fucking drug dealers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Andrea somehow still took a shower in that fucking bathroom where I wouldn't even take off any of my clothes at all. The most stupid one ever. You weren't there, Billy, but it was like, it was Minsk and a Storm of Light in Geneva, and there was an elevator that was like, it went 3 floors, and it's supposed to hold like 4 people, and we're all like pretty wasted. We got the promoter was egging us on, which is why we ultimately weren't responsible for this. But we got like 10 people into it, and like
Nice.
the door shut. I was kind of like by the door, and it broke, and it sunk down. It was this slow sink. You could feel like like whatever was lifting it had not, had given way, and it wouldn't open for like about 10 minutes. Like everyone was just like freaking out. I had audio recording of it at one point, but I could breathe like because I was by the crack in the door, but like people in the back are like, oh fuck, and eventually it opened and we were between floors where like it was like a dance party was like happening. It's kind of Europe style, but so I can't remember if we crawled out of it or like it somehow got back up, but like the elevator was fucked, and they're like, yeah, if that shit didn't open, you would have been in there until like Monday. It was like Saturday because the repair guys were like on vacation or something.
Jesus. Let that be a lesson to everybody. Don't put 10 people in a 4-person elevator.
I remember a grimy tour story when Generation of Vipers was in Europe. We went to Europe one time. It was in 2013. We played this squat in Zagreb, Croatia. The building used to be like an old medicine factory, they said. I mean, the show was super cool. Like the squat was cool. Like squat shows are always cool over there, I feel like. But we also stayed there. And where we stayed was in that medicine factory, and there was already sleeping bags and like pillows and stuff. And we totally just crawled in those sleeping bags. And but I'm surprised we didn't walk away with some kind of medieval illness.
My leg's never been the same since.
Yeah. Can't believe I did that.
Oh man. All right. This has been fun and some form of informative, fellas. I'm going to dumb that down here. Billy, some of these you will have answered before, but I've tried to change it up. So the ones you've answered before, I'll check your answers and see if you say the same. Probably not, but either way, we'll see what happens. These are what I've dubbed stupid fire questions. We'll stick with a Josh Billy rotation here instead of switching it up. Starting off with the first one, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee for sure.
Okay, yeah, that's I feel like that's an easy one to start people off with. Something you could eat for a week straight.
Mission style burritos.
Oh, nice. Pizza, I guess. For me.
I think it was pizza that you said last time.
Pink
Beatles or Stones?
Floyd.
You and I are going to have a longer conversation one of these days, and it's going to go well.
Well, okay, Beatles, but I would also choose Pink Floyd. But I'll stick with Beatles.
All right. If you had to compare Guiltless, the music, to an animal, what would the animal be?
Badger.
That's funny. I was going to say honey badger. But
Oh, nice. Yeah.
What's a song you grew up with that you hope to never hear again?
Anything by the Doobie Brothers? Michael McDonald.
I feel like there's been some kind of fucking resurgence of that stuff with the Yacht Rock documentary and everything.
That shit was fucking amazing, man. Yacht Rock.
Damn, I don't know. I remember hearing "Hello" Lionel Richie when I was a kid.
Oh,
way too many times. And I'm like, I don't want to hear that again.
No, we're done with that one.
This will date me, but in the 90s, I was a manager at Tower Records, and we had conventions in Sacramento where we had to go to, and they had people, they had artists play, and fucking Lionel Richie was playing, and it was like basically karaoke. It was just like music with him singing, and like I was like looking at my friend Jeff. I'm like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. And like our regional manager walked up and was like, anyone leaves this room, you're fucking fired. So we watched the entire set.
Having to have a job's the fucking worst sometimes, isn't it? What's one heavy song that everyone should hear before they die?
I went to my immediate thought was For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yeah, my first thought was Black Sabbath from their first record.
I can still
Nice.
remember the first time I heard that fucking song.
Yeah, me too.
Beer or liquor?
That's a tough one. Beer, probably.
Beer. I'm a simpleton.
Yeah, I'm a beer person too. I actually haven't drank since January 5th. I'm going to come back from my sabbatical next Thursday.
Nice.
Oh dang.
What's going on next Thursday?
Absolutely. I'm actually, you know what? I'm supposed to be talking to Scour, so I guess I can't get too drunk too early.
Or you can.
Or I can.
Yeah.
Actually, Dave from Earsplit, he said I'll probably be drunk by the time you start your podcast. And I was like, now you're making me want to drink. And he said, why don't you have a shot of tequila for every question?
It would have been a good section to start that with.
That would have been a good one.
How about an underrated heavy band besides Guiltless?
Are we talking modern day or historically?
Sure, whichever works.
Man, that's rough. I don't know. I'd have to like look through my fucking catalog of stuff.
I know there's just so many names that go through your mind.
Sure.
I guess they're heavy. Like it just popped up on Apple Music for me the other day. A band called Laughing Hyenas from the early '90s on Touch and Go Records. I'd never heard them until yesterday, and they're freaking awesome. Like I think they may have been from Michigan, maybe somewhere like the Midwest. But yeah, they were great. Like
Never heard of them either.
I think it's a singer from Negative Approach, and the drummer played with Jesus Lizard for a little bit after.
Yeah, that's right. I think for some reason I feel like Steve just mentioned those guys when I was in Idaho.
We'll circle back to you on the on this one, Josh. Be it later today or some other time. What's the best concert you've ever been to? Boy, at this rate, we're gonna have smoke coming out of your ears.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know. I mean, there's been like a million, but like the first one that popped in my head was it was Crash Worship and Neurosis with on Enemy of the Sun tour. And that was like the first time I had seen them play. And those two together was like Crash Worship was like fucking just like total insanity. It was have you heard of them?
No.
It was like between like 8 to like 15 drummers and like a hobo guitar player and a fucking insane vocalist. And like I saw them a bunch. Like one club they like turned off all the power because it was all drums. They just fucking kept playing and like filled up the entire place full of smoke and like marched out like marching band style, still playing. Got like in the fucking van and left. Yeah, I know.
That is nuts. Billy?
For me, probably first time I saw Tool, the Melvins opened, and that was also the first time I saw the Melvins. So it was like 1998. It was kind of before Tool got like mega huge. I mean, they still played in like like a arena, but I mean it was a pretty small arena. Yeah, that was a good memorable show for me.
Hell yeah. What's the first album you ever bought?
It's my own money. I think it was album, like actual LP.
I'm not being specific on that. CD, tape, first piece of music you ever bought.
I I think cassette was maybe Agent Orange. This is the voice, and then LP was The Cure Pornography somehow. I had some kid in 7th grade let me hear like a Cure cassette, and then I went to Tower where I ended up working, and I just like went. I had no idea what The Cure was. I just picked Pornography because the cover was like insane looking. I was like, oh shit, yeah, this is dark.
For me, the first one I bought with my own money was Metallica and Justice for All.
Yes.
And the same day, Aerosmith Big Ones, the greatest.
Oh
hits.
no.
There's a coin there. Yin and Yang or something like that.
Yep.
Go-to karaoke song.
I've done Ace of Spades.
Billy, I think this is one you've been asked before, so we'll see if we can.
Yeah, I honestly I've never done karaoke.
We sing it in the shower.
But I think I would really kill Hello by Lionel Richie.
Yes.
Full circle. I love it. If I were a smart person, I'd end this whole damn thing right
Yeah,
there.
that's recall out.
Last thing here. Last one of these anyway. Sausage links or patty?
Patty.
See,
Link.
we're gonna have a good conversation one of these days.
Links all the way.
Thanks.
Really?
Yeah. So the last question here before I start saying thanks to everybody is very original. Nobody's ever come up with it, and it's solely a thing done on this stupid fucking podcast. I've kind of modified it for you here, Billy. You, Josh, and Billy of Guiltless and many other bands are sent to an island separately. You get to take one album with you. What's the album? Billy, since you've done an album before, we'll do a fucking movie for you this time.
All right.
Josh, what's the album you're taking with you? I can already see your ears smoking over this.
God damn. Maybe Pink Floyd Animals? It's like a weird. Yeah, I don't know. That's so tough, but or maybe some kind of sleep record that's 10 hours long. Not Sleep the band, but
Right. I saw Claypool's Frog Brigade thing came through here a couple years ago and played Animals front to back. And
oh yeah, I think they may have like released that or part of it.
They released it. He did it a long ass time ago, and they released it. And you think Claypool, you think Primus, you think goofy stuff, for better or worse. You can tell he absolutely loves this shit because they play it directly straight up, and it sounds like the fucking album.
Damn, that's cool.
Billy, we've done the album thing with you before. What movie's the movie you're going to take for the rest of your life on this island with you?
Oh, that's way better.
Feel free to type. Whoa, Jesus Christ, those weren't words, Clint. Feel free to chime in on that one too, there, Josh.
Oh man, the movie. Okay, my movie would be Dumb and Dumber. That's one of the greatest achievements in cinematic history.
On the moon.
That's amazing.
Go ahead, Josh. Fill us in on yours there.
I'll probably use 2001 Space Odyssey.
Okay.
Although Dumb and Dumber might be the better choice.
Kind of rethinking this now. Guys, I want to say thanks not only for carving some time out to talk with me today, but for putting together a fucking stellar album. For those listening, be sure to have this on your radar come March 7th. And until then, give the EP, again, called Thorns, a listen to get yourself all primed up. Use the links in the show description to pre-order your eco-friendly copy of the album. You'll also find links for their socials as well as Sonic Temple, Brimming Horn Meadery, and this here podcast socials in there. Do the right thing. Give everybody a follow. Stay up to date on all the fun. And wherever you're hearing this from, hit the old subscribe button there for me and give a review or stars or whatever the hell it is there, please and thanks. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Billy, who's going to introduce the song for us to get out of here on a high note.
Hey, this is Billy from Guiltless, and this is One is Two from our upcoming record, Teeth to Sky.